everyone, so today is Mental Health Awareness Day and I thought I would make a quick little video because I wanted to put up my interview with Anthony King from Mind and I didn't know really when to put it up, but today seems to be a perfect day for it. I will also leave an uncut version in the description below so you can hear the questions I was asking and the other little bits of chat that we had, because instead of just listening to him talking for 20 minutes, you might want to see what I had to say too, so that will be in the description bar below, along with my 2 mental health documentaries that I made for my college coursework. I will leave them in the description, the short version and the long edit, so they will be there, along with a load of links and helplines to various mental health charities. So if you are suffering from a mental health issue, they are there. And I just wanted to say, before I hand you over to the video that I have already filmed, that you're not alone in this and it will get better, and it takes a lot of time, but I promise you that if you get the right support and you talk to somebody about it, incredible things can happen.
Mind as an organisation is split into 2 distinct parts. There's National Mind, and what National Mind does, it does all the things around campaign and promotion of mental health services. But National Mind don't deliver any mental health services to the general public. That's delivered by 160 local mind associations. And in Essex, there are 7. There's Basildon Mind, Thurrock Mind, Brentwood Mind, South East Central Mind, who we are, Mid Essex, Colchester and West Essex Mind. Okay? And they all deliver different services that meets the needs of the local community. So the idea is that as the organisation develops and grown, they've actually identified gaps in services that are needed in local areas and then gone off and developed services that meets those local needs. So they're very different in their own makeup. Across the whole of Essex there is a very clear coverage of what service delivered. We deliver services here in Southend, Castleport and Rochford, Chelmsford, Braintree and Southwood and Forest. It's a very large geographical area. National Mind as an organisation are very keen to do this thing around, and what we do here as well is around reducing stigma and raising awareness of mental health. Each year we do a mental health conference. This year, 2014, our conference is going to be around about criminal justice and mental health, because there's a large number of people who are within the criminal justice system who are committing crimes to self-medicate because of mental health issues. They commit a crime to buy drink or drugs to alleviate the problems they're feeling around the anxiety around their mental health issue. So you do see people who are kind of going through this revolving door of criminal justice system because they're just committing crime after crime after crime to manage a mental health issue. And what we actually have to do is we have to find a way to break that cycle, and the only way we can break that cycle is to address the mental health issue. That way they then stop self-medicating, that way they don't need drink or drugs, that way they should stop committing crimes, so stop the revolving door process. Untitled Chapter is more a campaign that works with people to kind of change people's attitudes towards mental health and mental health. And if you look at the Untitled Chapter website, you'll see lots of little videos they've done, and there's a very good one they've done around mental health and workplace. And kind of depicts a guy who's seen his colleague walk across the room. He's been off work for a few weeks and months, and he's not sure how to actually address this individual in terms of coming back to work. And you see him going through all these different things in his head about how the person can react. Like he's going to fall apart, he's going to melt in some bowl of thing. And actually what the person does is actually just says, yeah, it's fine, it's okay. It's about getting people to be aware that mental health is something that we all at some time in life go through at some form, and it's not something that should be kind of hidden under the carpet and hidden away. The other thing that Untitled Chapter does is another one. I think it was not 2013 but 2012 video, because they kind of do one every couple of years or a year or so. Is relating to again, a young person who goes back into a classroom and obviously been off school for a few weeks, and everyone's got an opinion to why he's been off school. And he gets up and stands up on the table and explains to the class what's gone on and how he's felt, and how the fact that the mental health has affected him. And he then steps down from the table, sits back down in his chair in stunned silence. And a few seconds later, another girl steps up because she's had the same issue. Yeah. The fact she's not been off school is the difference. But she gets up and she tells the class her story. And it's about having those opportunities to tell the child and change people's perception about mental health. So it becomes seen as much more common than it actually is, than people think it is. People get involved in a number of ways in mind. I think they're As a local voluntary organisation, we do rely very heavily on people to support us, both financially and both in terms of personal resources. One of the things that people said to us around going to agencies was they went to one agency, gave them lots of information about themselves, then the agency said, well, we can't help you, but we know a man who can, send it somewhere else. They went to another agency who then asked them lots of questions about themselves, and they felt the turn story over and over and over again. So what we've done in the assessment form is designed one form that agencies said we're collecting information that's useful to them. So when we're sending somebody somewhere else, we can send on that information for that client, and then that agency's got all that information and don't have to ask all those questions again. So the client feels actually I've actually over that first hurdle. In Southend we provide supported accommodation. So we own 7 houses, we rent a number of other properties, and we provide 3 types of accommodation. We've got a small number of people who are classed what's called long enduring. In other words, they've got a mental health issue, they have an accommodation tenancy with us, and they can stay with us as long as they want to stay with us. Okay? The second group of people are people what's called on a pathway of care. And they live in our community-based houses, and a combination of friendship houses, which are like houses where they have their own rooms, but they share the lounge, living room and the communal areas, and small bed sits. And through the pathway of care, what we do is we work with individuals who've got a mental health issue to identify what support they need to build the confidence to be independent again. And over a 2.5 year period, we worked through a number of different elements of their support pathway needs to develop those skills. And at the end of 2.5 years, we then help to find suitable accommodation that's going to meet their long-term accommodation needs. So that's our support accommodation. The third element we do is accommodation for people who are ex-offenders, individuals whose offending behaviour is due to the fact they're trying to self-medicate through drink or drugs for a mental health issue, and they then committed a crime in order to fund that self-medication process. And when you look at the criminal justice system, you see lots of people going through this revolving door of they commit a crime, they get punished, they commit another crime, they get punished, they commit another crime, they get punished. And all that happens with that basically is they will get to the point where even the smallest of crimes will get to the point where if you keep doing it, you will get a prison sentence. So that's our supported accommodation. We provide a range of mental health counselling services. Our post-traumatic counselling service came out of one of the first conference we did. One thing that came out of that conference was the number of people who said that the lack of service for people who actually suffer from PTSD. So Sarah sat down and she wrote a project plan, and we went out and got some money from the big lottery to launch a counsel service for people who've got PTSD. Not just members of the armed forces, they are our biggest use of our services, but also individuals from public service, social workers, doctors, firemen, some teachers. We've had some people who've been involved in car accidents and a few years later start to experience PTSD episodes. We've had some people who've been involved in terrorist attacks and have then been involved later on in their lives in PTSD episodes. And the idea of the service is to kind of work with those people through a range of interventions, counsel interventions, to get to the point where they can actually then manage and then go back to lead a normal, relatively normal life. So the aim is to get people back into work, in social interactions, reduce the stress on them, but also on their family and friends. Because it's, I mean, the one analogy is the soldier that says to you, they teach me how to kill, but not how to deal with the outcome of killing. So the idea is to take those people back to the point where they can actually do things. And when you've got a number of serving personalities, we do have down in the Southend who have been to Iraq and Afghanistan, not just on one, not just on 2, but sometimes 3 and 4 tours of duty. You know, come the fact that they feel they can't go outside their homes and firework at night because they can't cope with the bangs and the fireworks exploding. It's about getting to the point where they can enjoy those things again. In Chance we do a number of counselling services. We've got a general counsel service, which does a whole range of things around stress, anxiety, and provide intervention. We also do counselling for people who experience an eating disorder conditions, so we work with them around kind of understanding issues around food, mood and that sort of stuff. We also do some talking therapies, IAPT, down here in South East Essex, and we're also about to start to roll out a much more comprehensive fee-based counsel service across our whole area. And the fee-based counsel service will be designed around, or is designed around the fee that the person pays depending on what their income is. that both in terms of the assessment and the counsel session they will then get. And the fee-based counsel service is designed around, they have an assessment. The assessment then goes very quickly, in a few days, to a multidisciplinary team who then look through the assessment, what's come out of the assessment, and then determine which best form of counselling intervention is going to meet that person's needs. And then they're offered an agreed amount of counselling sessions, so it's all outcome focused. It's not this thing that says, you know, this ongoing counselling forever and a day. There are some people out there who do need counselling forever and a day, and there are different interventions for those, but these are all outcome focused. Everything we do here is all around that kind of that primary outcome focused interventions that keep people well, bring them back to a point where they feel they feel that they're in a recovery, they feel they've recovered from where they are at the present moment in time. There's lots of ways in which people can get involved. We've got a number of service user groups. We've got a service user group down here in South East Essex and service user group up in the Central Essex area. We also have a youth focus group, and the idea of those groups are so that we can make sure that whatever we're doing as an organisation meets the needs of our service users. Because no point us doing something and just go, hey, we don't need that, we need something else. And when we talk about younger people, our youth focus group came out. When we did the youth conference, Sarah felt it was really important that, you know, as we're doing a conference around young people, we should set up a group of young people who can tell us what we were doing in terms of what we were trying to achieve in the day was actually going to meet young people's needs. We set up this very small group of young people. It's a group of young people, so you can see it. Okay. With the lovely Tony Adams in the middle, because he was our speaker that year. And they started off with the premise that they were going to help us to kind of plan. So we kind of said, this is what we're doing, this is the workshops for, this is the speakers got. And in the end, they got to the point and said, actually, we want to do a workshop. And each of them went off, each of those 6 young people went off and they researched a certain element of mental health that affected the young person. And they wrote a little dialogue about that element, and they wrote some of the interventions that could be used for that element. And each of them stood up on the stage at the start of the workshop and gave their spiel about that element of mental health. And then what they did, they organised a series of different sports activities, whether it was football, hockey, and then what the delegates did who attended the workshop, what they did, they all spent a little time on each activity, and then they moved around. So they organised it, they decided how it was going to work, we just went, okay.
Yeah, one of the local schools provided the equipment.
Yeah.
It was brilliant, it really was. They were so brilliant, they really were.
We went, okay, and then sorted out the insurance later on, because that was cool.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's good because it got young people involved. But the thing about it was that after the conference, where the youth focus group was meant to disband because they thought that was it, they said, no, we want to keep on meeting. And they've met every month since then. The group's grown, so it's grown from these 6 people, and we now get more. We get a lot of young people from the schools that we're involved with. Because we also have a youth counsellor, which I haven't explained yet. We've got a youth counsellor who works in 3 schools in the South End area. Work with people who come from. It came out of some of the work the Reason Project was doing. I mean, a lot of young people from ethnic minority groups who just seemed to be socially isolated within schools and needed kind of people to talk to, and had adjustment disorder because they were coming from somewhere that was very a region of the world that was in conflict, or was very different to society in the UK, and were coming here, and we just couldn't deal with the changes. So the idea that UCAS goes in and works with them, and although at the moment it's only funded for 3 days a week, so if anybody out there who wants to give us some more money for that, would be great. And it is funded by Children in Need. She goes in there, and at the moment her timetable is actually full of people she can see. She can't see any more people. So that's something that we're looking to expand to next year or so. One message that we will get across to people is, one, you know, we all experience some sort of mental health issue at some stage in life.
1 in 4.
Yeah, 1 in 4, right? Now, commonly, right, people get that thing at Christmas, we all get together, their families get together for 4 days, you know, nan, granddad, children, in a house, right, pressure cooker, and some people come out of that and think, oh my God, and we had an influx of people, calls, between Christmas and New Year, people just wanted to talk through, you know, I've been in my family for 4 days, I need to talk to somebody. People not to think that there's not support out there for them. Yeah, there are going to be some people who are going to come to us and say, this is my particular need. And when we look around, we're going to think, actually, there isn't a service out there that meets that need. But what we can do is we can work with them, right, and work with other agencies. Say, if enough people come to us and say, well, actually, I have a need of this, we can sit there and say, okay, this doesn't exist. But how do we make it exist? And it's really important that people don't sit at home and think, I've got a mental health issue, there's nobody out there that can help me, because we are seeing about a 5–10% reduction in mental health budgets over the next few years, year on year, each year 5–10% cut in budgets, right? But at the same time we're seeing more and more people who've got mental health issues, right? And if people don't come to us and say, this is the situation we're in and we need support, we can't fight that, because people say, well, show me the need that demonstrates what you're telling me. So people do need to come forward and say what the issues are, so that we can support them through it.